The Magicians Podcast, brought to you in association with the Magic Circle.
This is going to sound really... I'm being very honest with you here.
I really appreciate it.
It was the most devastating thing that had ever happened to me at that time.
Hello everybody, hope you've had a good week. I'm Richard Young. Welcome to the Magicians Podcast. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please do it now. We are at Magician Podcast. You can also give our Facebook page a like if you haven't done it already. Just search for the Magicians Podcast. If you get a spare minute, a little review of our podcasts on iTunes would be greatly appreciated. It helps our search engine optimization in the iTunes store so that people searching for magician type podcasts will hopefully come across this feed. I've recently added all of the Magicians Podcast episodes to Stitcher, which is a very popular podcasting website. There's now a third way, in addition to iTunes and Podbean, for you to keep in touch with what we're doing here. My guest today is Danny Buckler. Now, Danny is more of a stand-up comedian than a magician, but a few years ago he was involved in some really interesting magic TV projects, and he's also got some very funny views on the current state of the magic world. I first observed this at the Session Convention in 2014, when Danny blew the roof off the place with his very funny dynamo impressions and observations. This interview was recorded backstage at the Conjuring at the Court show, which happens in Ealing every single month. If you've never been to the show, check it out. It's a different lineup every month of 3 or 4 magicians. The producers of the show do a great job in getting in a really big audience, so check it out if you haven't seen it already. Here he is then, Mr. Danny Buckler. Danny Buckler, how are you?
I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Good. We're in a bit of a... Obviously, this is the problem with podcasts. No one can actually see where we are, but we are literally in the bowels of...
We are deep underground, a hotel/pub.
Yeah.
Where we've just done a show, and I use those words in their broadest sense. And...
Yeah, it was a bit of a...
Just tanked on my... You did very well.
Oh, that's very kind. No, I don't think we did that well. But,
oh, you did.
It was a bit of a... It was a challenging audience. It was full of magicians. That's really the crux of the story. So
I'd say about 70% from what I was... I don't know.
Yeah,
no idea.
No exaggeration. Yeah. But do you enjoy doing shows like this generally, though? Like where it's sort of you're on the bill as a magician, where they're expecting a magic show?
Do you know what? No. I used to. I do and I don't. I mean, this was the... I'm not going to lie. This was a particularly difficult audience, but I don't know what they were expecting. Very strange. But I like doing things like like the Session. I sometimes pop up there and do a little bit for them.
I saw you there
I've done
a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Oh, well,
very, very funny.
thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
passionate about dynamo.
I have mentioned, yes, indeed, very passionate about, nothing but massive respect for Stephen Frayne. Do you know what I mean? I love Stephen Frayne. Stephen Frayne's a hard-working man who's pulled himself up by his bootstraps and achieved great things. I just don't care for dynamo. You know what I mean? It's just separating the person from what they do, isn't it?
Of course, absolutely. I'm very interested. The first question I want to ask you, actually, is how... Because I know you're a magician, and just like the rest of us, you've been into it since you were a kid. But how did the route into comedy happen? Because, you're more of a comedian, really, than a magician.
Performing is... Or finding out who you are when you're doing it is more you start off thinking it's about acquiring stuff. So it's about acquiring material, and it's about acquiring tricks if you're a magician. And then you reach a point you realise it's not about that. It's actually about losing stuff and getting down to the core of who you are. It's about letting go of things.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And that sounds too sort of mad hippie about it. You have to follow your Tao. You have to follow your path, your way, and trust yourself and try and become your authentic self. I think. You don't have to do that. Some people perform as characters, and some people... But for me, it was about being authentic. And as I tried to get more authentic, the magic sort of drifted away because I realised that was actually a crutch. And it was something I was using... It was a barrier between me and them, the audience. And then when I eventually dropped it completely, it was like very liberating for me. I realised that I was more of a... I love magic and I enjoy magic, but I was actually a comedian in my heart.
That's terrifying as well, though, right?
The first time going on stage without a deck of cards in my pocket was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done.
How did it go?
Well,
did it?
Because fear is a fuel, isn't it? It's a sensation in your stomach, and it's an energy. And if you don't tap into it and don't buy into the story you're telling yourself about, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And just relax and use it, and then it carries you. And that sort of carried it through. But yeah, dropping the magic was a big thing for me, and the right thing. Yeah.
Definitely the right thing.
Yeah, but now I enjoy it again.
Yeah.
Because after it stopped being what I did for a living, it became a pleasure again.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So now it's actually enjoyable, and I do the occasional magic show.
We've had so many magicians.
Like tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. You're on the magic. We've had so many magicians on this podcast who have sort of, when I've asked the question, what advice would you give a magician or something like that, they've said, don't do it for a living, because you'll lose the enjoyment of it, sort of thing. So I'm interested to know a little bit about you, because in doing a bit of research, actually, I struggled to find out a bit of detail out about you, actually. So I'm interested to know your what your upbringing was like.
There's nothing, is there?
Did you go to university, that kind of thing? What's your kind of early days?
No, I didn't go to university. I missed that boat. I went to college, which is why I started sort of performing for the first time. I wanted to be an actor. I thought I wanted to be an actor.
Oh, really?
And but I wasn't I wasn't born into a situation where drama school was not an option.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like... This is the thing about show business. No one knows how to get into it.
Right.
There's no definite route in. How do you get... To me, it was like a closed shop. There was no... Nobody was saying, of course, son, you can be a bloody performer. And if it doesn't work out for you, there's a place for you at Barrington Solicitors. Do you know what I mean? There was no money. There was no structure. I was just at school and I wanted to be in show business. And I didn't know how. And when I was at college, I thought, I'll learn to be an actor. That's what I'll do. So I went on to the local college, Brooklands, and it was there that I learned that I was absolutely dreadful. That I had no skill. I had nothing to offer. I went in on the first day, and everyone was so smart and hip and knew who Brecht was, and I'm sitting there like this kind of weird, befuddled. I don't know what I'm doing, and they all knew the words to the plays and the thing. And, oh, lordy, and Martin Freeman was in my year. And it was obvious he was the actor. Do you know what I mean? Because he was so relaxed and he was so effortless in everything he did. And he could just... And it was just obvious he was going to be the one that made it. And I remember sitting in the next step meeting you have 2 years in about university and being told by my drama lecturer that, there's plenty of options in amateur theatre and it's not always a career for the... basically you say, listen, mate, you suck. You haven't got a prayer at this. Show business is not for you. But at the same time, I had magic tricks. I had an interest in magic, and I was going to the Davenport's magic shop and International, and I was reading like the Royal Rote of card magic, and I was doing card tricks in the refectory. And then it became obvious through doing that. Part of the course was doing a self-devised piece. So I put together a little 10-minute magic show, which was the 6-card repeat, the cups and the balls, and I think that was pretty much it. When I went out to do it, I intended to do it straight. As I hear the art of magic, watch closely. The hand is quicker than the eye. And I walked out and opened my mouth, and what came out was literally this stream of consciousness.
Oh, right.
And it was funny, and people laughed, and that was like the moment of the light bulb going on.
Yeah.
I went, this is my place in the circle of life. I've found my true, Aleister Crowley's true will. I found what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. This is it.
Yeah.
And it went really well. And it was like, I see. Right, how do I make a living doing that then?
Yeah.
And again, not a clue.
Right.
No idea how, because no one tells you.
No.
So
did you join like a magic club next then?
No, yeah, I did, but not then. A little bit later on. What happened? I started working in a theatre because I thought, right, if I can't do it, at least I can be around it. And that's when I learned about the comedy circuit.
Right. Because
we had a pantomime on in the theatre, and Lewis MacLeod was our Aladdin, who at then was a massive star. He was doing Saturday morning kids telly.
Yeah.
And I met him and it mentioned in his biog that he did the comedy circuit. So I saw him at the bar one day. I went up to him, excuse me, can I ask you what the comedy circuit is? And he went, yeah, sure, mate. And he showed me how to do it. He showed me how to ring phone comedy clubs and how to get open spots and how to do that. And that's how I started performing properly then. I started doing open spots at comedy clubs. And then I joined the LSM around about then.
Yeah.
Which I believe is still going.
I think they are, yeah.
And that was good fun. Yeah, I was a cocky little sod though.
Right.
But
So this was did you have like a normal job around this time? Or
yeah, I was working the box office of the theatre.
Right. Okay.
So I'd do that, and then I'd try and do open spot, and it's very hard to get open spot. I was very young, I was 18, and I was pooling up to London after work. And
that is incredible. You're 18, knocking on doors, trying to do open spots.
Yeah. And you go to these evil pubs in the middle of like East London and nowhere, because it was a different comedy world to what it is now. And you turn up, and it would be like there was so many of them then, and you'd do your 10 minutes, and you'd absolutely tank.
How do you? This is the thing I've always wanted to ask a comedian. When you, as you put it, tank.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good chance you're going to tank the next time, right? Because you can only change so much. You've got to go on and then tweak it again, and then you might tank the next.
Yes.
How do you keep going back? And
well, this is the thing. It's either in you or it isn't.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That the going back thing. This is the thing about people going. Should I get a career? Should I become a professional budget? If you're asking that question, then no, you shouldn't. Yeah. The second you're asking that question, should I? Shouldn't I? No, you shouldn't. Forget it.
Yeah.
Should I do stand up? Forget it. It's in you or it's not. If you want to do it, you'll do it. It's in you. It's a drive. It's a force.
Uh-huh.
If you're looking at it as a business thing, if I do that and I've got a 5-year plan, then forget it. You're not gonna. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's got to be in you. It's got to be. It's like a fire in your gut. It was like there was something in me that wanted to come out, and it was coming out in inappropriate ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be at the box office and I'd start doing goofy stuff to make the customers laugh, which is not appropriate. And sometimes they would laugh, but sometimes they look at me like, listen, mate, we're trying to buy theatre tickets here. Do you know what I mean? We're here to see Abigail's party, not listen to you goof off.
Do you know what's really funny, Danny, is I used to work in Comet, you remember the electrical retailer, and I used to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I used to dick around with customers when they were looking at TVs. I used to have the little flash ring, touch the telly and it would spark and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely,
Yeah, similar type of stuff. What can you do in a box office to mess with people?
Well, I was messing about with their change, I was doing voices, I was being funny, I was trying to, what I now know as banter, I was trying to get that going on, and it was inappropriate. It was the wrong set and setting.
Yeah.
Everything needs the right settings, every picture needs the appropriate frame.
Yeah.
And this was the wrong frame for what my natural urges and my inclinations were in the wrong set and setting. They were not, and so they were annoying people. They were not having the desired effect.
Doesn't this just describe close-up magic?
Absolutely,
well?
yeah.
That's why close-up magic doesn't work quite often in certain senses.
Yeah, because you're forcing it doesn't work. I mean, a lot of people would tell you, it works. But I'd maintain that going up to people that are in a restaurant sitting and imposing your will on them is difficult.
Yeah,
it's hard, and I couldn't do it. I tried in my youth.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, I tried. I was around. It was a different world, but this was back in the days. But I remember I used to go to the Magic Circle, and this was at the time when the close-up boom was happening. It was like a big thing. There were like 4 or 5 guys making a grand at Fay Presto, and for Zap.
Yeah.
And a guy called Peter Meta. I don't know if they're still about. Fay's still going, obviously.
Yeah.
Brilliant she was. She was the queen. It was her world.
Yeah.
And we just lived in it. Do you know what I mean? She was absolute. She was the centre of her own universe. It was amazing. She'd drive up to the Magic Circle in a Rolls Royce with FP on the side. And you were like, she's got doing these exclusive events, and she'd tell these stories. And then I used to hang out with her quite a bit. And you'd go to these really cool sort of late night Soho dens. Like, do you know what I mean? After these gigs. But I could never really break that. I tried my best, but I was awful at it.
Right.
It was, again, not an inappropriate sentence. It was not where I was meant to be. I was trying to find where I was meant to be, and that weren't it. But I didn't know that until I actually tried it.
Yeah. So
I was no good at the approach.
Where you're meant to be is on a stage in a comedy club or...
Yeah, it's comedy clubs and theatres.
Yeah.
It's where I believe is my place in the circle of life. It's where I'm the most comfortable, and it's where I'm the most confident, or as confident as I get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where I seem to have the greatest ability with an audience.
You've just...
Not tonight, obviously, because as we know, I'm saying this like, oh my God, listen to him! It's Lenny Bruce talking. I've just done. I've got to be honest with you. Tonight's gig was difficult because we had a weird mix. But this is the thing. I'm with a comedy club. I can look at myself objectively, so I know why tonight was a bit off.
Yeah,
I know that some of it was me, and some of it was them. Let's not mince words. They were a difficult room of people. It's very hard, and I misjudged it a little bit maybe at the beginning, but I can look at myself objectively in that environment, know what I've done wrong, adjust and learn. And whereas in the close-up environment, I could do really well or die at a restaurant table, and I wouldn't know why or how. I couldn't look at it objectively.
Okay.
I couldn't look at it after. I'd come away from the table and just think
Yeah.
I was either the worst person in the world, and you know, he didn't like my card trick, so I'm going to go home and take to my bed for 3 weeks.
I know you did a
know,
little bit
yeah.
further down the road with the comedy. You did, you know, you landed some pretty high profile TV gigs.
I
as
did.
well.
I was a comedy magician, you see, then.
Absolutely. What was the road? I mean, you're in comedy clubs, you know, gigging.
Yes.
How does it then move to that level where you're being considered for BBC One on a Saturday night?
Well, it was a combination. It was mates. You know, I was friends with Anthony Owen, and at the time he was. I mean, now he's the king of the world, and he's the. But at the time he was becoming that. He wasn't. He was somewhere between where he started and where he is now, and he was a friend of mine. He is a friend of mine. I don't see him now because everyone's so busy. But at the time, yeah, and he knew of me, and he knew what I could do, and yeah, a couple of things, and nothing major, not like they've got now. But
I did hear a very interesting rumour, and you can confirm or deny, and that is that you had Pete Furman's gig on Monkey Magic.
I was in the original lineup for Monkey. Yeah, I was in the pilot.
You were in the pilot.
I was in the pilot for Monkey Magic.
And
yeah.
Pete Furman wasn't.
No, he was not. Pete Furman was not even on the radar. He wasn't. No one knew Pete then. I mean, he was alive. Obviously, I'm not saying he wasn't made in a test tube. Anthony Owen, like some mad scientist. We need to create the perfect comedy magician. Give me some of that DNA. Yeah, the pilot. That was a time. That was when Objective was new. It was a fledgling thing. I think they'd done the Derren Brown shows and a couple of things, but it wasn't the juggernaut it is now. Yeah, they wanted a logo. They were going to do it was Jackass with magic was the original idea. So it was going to be hidden camera, and it was going to be sort of edgy and street. And at no point, that was the whole thing. Andrew O'Connor's saying to me, at no point does anyone do a magic trick in this show. It just happens. Yeah, it was me and Jonathan Goodwin and Pete McCann and
Ali Cook.
And yeah, we filmed this pilot, and it was odd. It was we did it in Guildford over like 2 days, and it was but I was the wrong man for the job. It was it wasn't a show about personalities. You see, it was Jackass. It was about mates with a camera going out and daring each other to do stuff. And I wasn't that guy, you know. And it was about looks. I remember this very clearly. O'Connor said, "This is a show about looks. So I've got a good-looking one. I've got a fat one. I've got a bald one. What are you?" And I'm like, well, I'm the funny one. I can't see that though, can I? And it was like we couldn't find a way to make it work. And
so what's that like? What's that like when you effectively, you know, you lose the gig? You're at one point they've told you you're in the show, and then they say to you you're not in the show, and we're going to make a series.
Well, if it happened now, I'd be much calmer about it and much more. Well, I wasn't right for that. It wasn't right for me, and life goes on. But then I wasn't the man I was. You know, I was very. See, this is the thing. I always come late. I wasn't like, but you see the magicians now. I listened to the Ben Hanlon one of these on the tube to get here, and he's amazing. He's clear, and he's got a plan. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's smart, and he's savvy, and he's got a great business brain, and he's very young to have all that. It's amazing, actually, amazing. And I never had that. I was mental. I was, you know what I mean? I was young, and I wanted to be in show business. You know what I mean? And so then it was devastating. It genuinely was, I think, the most. This is going to sound really. I'm being very honest with you here.
I really appreciate it.
It was the most devastating thing that had ever happened to me at that time. It really. I mean, I remember standing in the rain, and the man who was then my agent phoning me up and saying, "I spoke to Objective. They're moving." This is how he told me. I spoke to Objective Productions. They're moving ahead with Monkey Magic as a series, but not with you. And I was working a shift at the magic shop at the time. And I remember, we just locked the doors. I was on my own. It was in the rain, and he phoned me up and told me that it was buckets. And I can remember going down to sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, but I went down to Waterloo Bridge on my own, and I must have cried for about an hour.
Really?
It was properly.
Yeah, of course it was.
You know, my life's dream was like just down. And it's a different world now. You've got X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, and celebrity has changed. But back then, 5 was the new channel.
Yeah,
we had 4 channels, and here comes the 5th one. It was a big kind of.
Yeah. And
then you see all the fun they were going to have, because I'd seen the plans for the things we were going to do. You know what I mean? We're going to do. It was all. Not most of it didn't happen, but it was all kind of. You know, we're going to do a trick involving skydiving. We're going to do this. And in my stupid head, I'm thinking, we're going to do Children in Need. We're going to do you know what I mean? We're going to do a stunt for that. We're going to be on talk shows. We're going to be the wacky. And then you're sort of, you know, trying doing open spots and trying to get into comedy clubs, and you're seeing the posters on the tube for it. And it was, And it was quite the thing.
But it did come and go, and
exactly. That's the truth of it. It came and it went.
Yeah.
And
a few years later, obviously, you did work.
But in my childlike brain, I didn't see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I came back with the Secrets of Magic show,
which was, let's be honest, was a bigger gig because it was BBC One.
It was a bigger gig. It was BBC One,
and it
I was more appropriate for it because it involved chat.
Yeah. You did an amazing trick on that show, which I've got to ask you about, and I don't know how much of it you can tell us, but you did a trick on there where you jumped off of, I think it was like a load of packing crates.
It was.
And you, in midair, disappeared.
Absolutely, yeah, I did.
Absolutely
halfway down.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us a bit about that and what that was like?
Yeah, I could tell you what it was like. It's great because it's one of those sort of weird lost tricks because it's not on YouTube.
There's nothing of that series on YouTube.
None of it. It's a weird. It's like a lost show. It went out. It was broadcast on BBC One. It went out. People think I'm lying now. I don't mention it anymore. Oh, yeah, so a prime time BBC One magic show. Did a couple of them. Really? But yeah, I jumped off this. It was like this 40-foot stack of crates. It was massively high.
Uh-huh.
The original idea was it was going to be a building, but we couldn't make it work so it was done, and it was done at Ealing Studios. I had the stunt guy, the guy who did the stunt. The only guy at the start of GoldenEye.
Yeah,
he goes off
the dam. Yeah.
Yeah, he taught me how to do it because that was the idea. I was going to do that. That was that forward fall.
So first point is, I mean, you really did do it.
I did do it. Yeah, I was up there and I dropped. Yeah.
Oh,
so we started off. I had to drop like 5 feet, and then 10 feet, and then 50. And they built it up slowly over the course of a couple of days.
Wow.
And then the biggie, and it was just I mean, this setup. It was like being on a film set. I mean, you see the magic shows now, and it's one guy with a camera and somebody walking down the street, and do you know what I mean? And no one. Oh yeah, you sort of see it. You're walking through London. There's another magic show being filmed over there.
Yeah.
Bloke with a camera in it. Do you know what I mean? Just like
yeah.
And but this was proper. This was like a film set. There's like cameras everywhere. I'm up on top of this 40-foot thing. I'm terrified because to get up there, I've had to have a safety thing clipped to me. But now I'm up there. That's off. So I'm literally just stood there, like an inch away from sweat is pouring off me, looking at where I've got to land, which now looks like a postage stamp.
Yeah.
I can see Anthony Anthony was in another room, I think, with his headphones on because he was looking at the shot. But I can see O'Connor down the thing, and it was just my heart was doing this, my legs. And then you can't muck it up. And then it was what I loved about it was the things that came up. It was improv. It was one shot. We did it in one shot. There was no retake. And it was just me shouting at the camera until, as the camera panned back, and I was just making all this thing about, I can't remember what I said, something about, if this goes to my brother watching at home, if this doesn't work, you must avenge me. All this stuff. And it's 40 feet, and the camera pulled back. And I just dived off. And the adrenaline, I mean, afterwards, when you land in the secret place where you land, you're just high as a kite. Your brain just releases all these. It's like your brain doesn't let you see it.
Yeah. As
you're going forward, your brain's going, this is it. It starts pumping out psychedelic substances to protect you from what you're seeing.
Or to prepare you for death.
Isn't
it?
So I was lying there afterwards. I could see patterns. It was weird. I'm lying in the sort of thing that's caught me, and I can see these weird geometric shapes that are like just moving around.
Yeah.
It was like, it was just euphoria afterwards. And then it looked great on the show as well. It really did. It was a proper...
Yeah.
And it was like, you think, it was like, seemed to, as I recall, it was before all the Blaine stunts. It was before all that.
Yeah.
I know, it was a real...
What year was this
moment?
Roughly?
Oh God, it was about 12 years ago now, it must be.
So like 2003, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. But I don't remember, maybe it was after the Blaine stunts, I'm not sure. But anyway... And now it's like a weird lost trick because no one's going to see it unless Objective eventually put it out in some way, but I don't know. As far as I'm aware, so I was sent a videotape of it. That's how long ago it was. Not even really? A DVD. I got it on cassette, so I can't even watch it now.
Oh, right, I see.
And
is that your favourite stunt that you did on the show? Because you did do quite a few.
That was the best one. That and the Blackpool Lights.
Yeah. So what's that like when you're sat at home, and you get the call, but this time it's a good news.
Yeah, absolutely. That was just, here we go. I thought, this is it. Do you know what I mean? You kind of think, well, this is going to be it. It's going to be a TV series.
Do you have an agent again at this point still? Or?
At this point, I'd switched agents because the other one was, not so. Well, he did me wrong, and I just started with a new one, and she was a new agent as well. So it was kind of like we were all a newish agent. She'd been an agent of the big agent. She just split off on her own, so it was quite an exciting time. Yeah, it was just really exciting. Oh my God, BBC One, it's going to be this. Leslie Grantham was our special guest, because he was coming back as Dirty Den.
Yeah.
The following in about 6 months' time. It had just been announced, so it was like the first thing he'd done.
Oh, right.
Ulrika Johnson was the other guest, and McIntyre Undercover, whatever, I forget his first name, that's embarrassing, isn't it? They were like our celebrity panel. It was like a game show where you kind of had to guess how we did what we did.
Yeah. There was some controversy about that, wasn't there?
There was a lot. There was a brief pause where people weren't sure whether they liked it or not. And then Duncan Trillo wrote an incredibly scathing review, which he stands by, and it's his opinion, and he's a mate of mine. I'm not, he's entitled to it, but he just wrote this. Ian Keeble wrote something as well, but his was a bit more. He wrote personal things. He kind of attacked us rather than the show. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I believe he called me a wannabe comedian, and I remember that being quite a painful moment.
Okay.
More than everything else, that was the thing that got in my head. It was like, you're calling me a wannabe comedian. Like, not the show and not what we did, but that was like, he was quite. But Duncan was very anti the show, and he kind of seemed to set the agenda for it. And it wasn't. If you were to see it now, you'd think, what?
A lot of them were sucker tricks. Is that right?
All of them were sucker tricks, and there were no methods in it that any magician was using. It was basically it's been rejigged as this magic.
Breaking magic.
Breaking magic. It's the same thing as
which is Ben
was
Hanlon.
Yeah, it was. The format was sound.
Yeah.
For real, take the magicians out of it as a format. That's a sound format.
Yeah.
And it works. So this breaking magic is a space. It seems to be up to me to be a rejigged version of it.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, very much.
You liked it.
Very proud of it. I look at it now and I look at my work in it and I think, I could have been funnier. I shouldn't have let them write scripts for me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're nervous. You're terrified. The guy's telling you what to do. You go, oh yeah, please. And the big part of Objective's machine is that it's about the formats, not the performers necessarily. I don't believe that's a secret. They kind of seem to take magicians' names off them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's the magicians. You're referred to as the magician. No one's ever referred to,
You're not the star of the show.
No, because it's about the format. Because they can sell the format around the world. They can interchange the people. It's not which is nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's the same as anything else. It's the same as Trinians. It's the same as Can't Cook, Won't Cook. It's the same as any other show. It's not.
Yeah.
But
do you enjoy doing television stuff?
I love it so much. I do. Yeah, very much. Especially now, comedically, I do. Little bits I do, which is, not many, but it's building. It is building.
Uh-huh.
I'd love to crack the panel show thing. That's what I'd love to do.
Really?
I
imagine in the comedy world, that's really tough, right? There's only
to get on there.
There's only ever 6 seats, aren't there?
There's only ever 6 seats, and there's an awful lot of politics involved as well as and talent. Let's not mince words. It's a very there's an awful lot of comedians to choose from.
Yeah,
and they're not all suited. To that environment.
I've heard someone say to me that on some of these panel shows, like ignoring who the comedians are, they actually look at it and go, it's 1 or 2 agents as well. Is that a big part of it? That kind of like you've got to be with the right agent to get into those seats?
It seems to be. I mean, there's a little bit of excuse making, or like I can't get on those. I've got to find a reason why. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously it's this. I don't believe that. I believe that anyone's got this weird idea that there's a conspiracy that people are getting together somewhere in a room to stop you getting on is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Because basically none of it exists.
Right.
It's all empty. Magic doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
There is no magic circle. There's a building,
and
there's individuals in that building. But point to the magic circle. Can you tell? If you were can you imagine a man from Africa, and he says to you, point to the magic circle. So you point at the building, and he goes, well, you're pointing at a building. Point to the magic circle. It's there.
That's
but who is it? Is it what is it?
Yeah.
Is the magic circle a building? Is it the people? Is it the rule book? Is it the council? Is it no? It's all these elements that come together once a week, and that creates the magic. Am I making sense? Not getting too esoteric.
Yeah, it's not tangible, is it? It's not.
You can talk yourself out of a lot. These people say, it's not 2 agencies that are stitching it up, because I can name you acts that aren't with either of those agencies that are doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Eddie Izzard's not with either of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's just there's individuals having careers, and I'm sure if you just keep showing up and do your best, and then what will happen.
Yeah.
Or it won't.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a business, like Ben Hanlon's obviously got a very clear. I may keep mentioning him because I've just listened to it, but he's obviously got a very clear path. He's driven. He's focused.
Yeah.
But everyone's got their own different Oh, sorry, I'm waffling. I've lost my thread now because I've not had a cup of tea and I'm sleepy.
Well, that's all right because it is time for a commercial break. And
there you go. That was well done.
There's a nice seamless link as well because you've been talking about the Magic Circle, which is one of our sponsors.
Are they really?
So we're going to hear a little advert now. You should be joining the Magic
It's
Circle.
a fine organisation.
If you are not a member, you should be joining and telling them that we sent you. Here we go. Have a listen to this.
The Magicians Podcast, brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O, free for 30 days. Be a pro, get Gigi-O.
The best and most user-friendly piece of software for professional entertainers just gets bigger and bigger. Everyone is using it. If you've never taken a look, go and do it right now at gigio.co.uk. That's Gigio, spelled Giggio.co.uk. The software will generate PDF contracts and invoices for you. It will even track your payments and update your diary on your phone automatically. Some great new features have been added to the software in 2015. And they are particularly great if you are overseas. Yes, if you're overseas, that doesn't mean you can't use Gigio. Go to the website right now and take the free 30-day trial.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website www.alakazam.co.uk or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
And there we go, 2 more brilliant sponsors. Alakazam Magic Shop, fantastic magic shop, great
I've not
product.
been there. Is it online or is it a physical magic shop?
Both.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know...
You can go and sit in it?
Absolutely. And you know, they've got some really interesting products. And, of course, my original sponsor, very, you know, warm place in my heart because he came on board at the beginning, Gigio. Do you use Gigio?
Who's Gigio? What's his service?
Right, okay.
Is he for hire?
It's like
Is he a masseuse?
No, it's a web-based software that you run your business. So you're a comedian, but
I am.
You still have gigs and stuff.
I do gig.
So what it does is it organises like your diary, it sends confirmations to people who book you, and
It's like a digital manager.
exactly right. And you know, it also updates your diary on your phone automatically.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Say it's
Does it
good.
spy on you while it's doing it?
No, just say it's
Does
good.
it feed your info back to a central hub?
Can you just say it's good, and then I can put that in the
Gigio,
app?
do you know what Gigio is? You can cut the rest of that stuff out, can't you?
Yeah, I can
Gigio's
get rid of it.
where it's at.
Exactly.
I'm always on Gigio. Facebook, it's the past, mate. Twitter, jog on. Get on Gigio. What? You're not on Gigio? You're not in our gang then?
Earlier on tonight, John Lenahan's on the bill tonight. He's also done a podcast.
He is. He might be on right now. We're in this weird back room.
We're in this weird room.
Contacting the spirits. It is ghastly back
I'm glad
here.
you can't see where we're sat because it looks like we're doing something very dodgy in here. And of course, sorry, just to mention again, you've mentioned Ben Hanlon a lot. You can look up his episode as well. It's in the feed where you've downloaded this episode. Ben Hanlon's episode's really good. John Lenahan's episode's really good. And you and John earlier were talking about gigs nowadays. And, you know, what's it like? You work cruise ships.
I do. Yes, I do. I do.
What is that like? And do you play the magic card on there or the comedy card?
Well, it's interesting. See, this is the thing. Having been a comedian with no magic in it for the longest time, when cruise ships came up, my comedy's not appropriate for that audience.
Right.
And not because it's offensive, because it isn't, you know, I mean, but they're it's an international audience. You can't mention politics, you can't mention drugs, you can't mention sex, you can't mention anything that's in the news, you can't mention, you know, apart from that, you're fine.
I actually didn't
Do you
know
know what I
that. They give you those guidelines.
Some do, yeah.
Wow.
Well, like the people I work for the most, and that I love the most, are Disney. And they're squeaky, their guidelines are very, you know, as you can imagine, they're quite strict on stuff. So you're limited. Now, and a lot of what I do is improvisation. Mm-hmm. An awful lot of it is improvisation, which, you know, I take the chance and sometimes it works. And as you saw tonight, I tried to riff some bits and they didn't quite take off. But
you're very hard on yourself because there were some gems tonight as well.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
You know.
Yes, so I needed to do, so I thought, right, I've got the old magic act I used to do on the comedy circuit, but that's only 20 minutes. But I built that up So I've now got 2 45-minute magic shows.
Wow.
That are that are solid, that work.
Are they still quite comedy heavy though?
Yes. Well, what they are is a structure
Right.
in which I can improvise.
Uh-huh.
But if the improv doesn't take off, there's solid enough material
I
that
see.
there is still a show still happens.
So you got the first 5 minutes where you test the water, and if
Yeah.
you're not in the comedy, you just do the magic.
But there's a definite structure to both shows.
Right.
And the magic that I do in them is very See, there's two types of comedy magic. If you buy a comedy magic routine, like the banana bandana is a good example of that. You're doing the banana bandana.
Mm-hmm.
There's your jokes, there's your props. Off you go and you do it.
Yeah.
And there is nothing in that for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just soulless. The idea of going out and buying a comedy routine fully formed is to me ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
And you'll be amazed how many people put together entire shows based on that and still describe themselves as comedians. And all they've done is they bought the standard prop. The idea of buying a DVD of somebody else's act. I mean, I get the idea of buying it to watch it, but not buying it to learn it word for word. So the tricks that I do are ones that there's no props. I've got no stuff.
Yeah.
I've got 2 decks of cards. I've got a couple of books that I get off the library on the ship, and that little bit of chain, and that's it. And with those items, I've got routines with them that create these 2 magic shows.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
So because there's no set, they give me a sort of a freedom, if that makes sense, to improvise with people, and make it how I want to make it.
Yeah.
As best I can. And then when it works, it's great. And when it doesn't, I've got pre-prepared material that I can then insert, and then it works. So whatever happens, you're going to get a good show.
Because the point is, on the ships, you can't really take much of a risk, can you?
Not a major risk. I mean, you could have fun.
You have a bad show.
No, yeah, you can have fun, but you can't. You don't want to upset a client because these are troubled times, and
Yeah.
you want to maintain your reputation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want them booking me. I don't want them booking a comedy magician.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them coming to my agent and saying, my cruise agent, and saying, do you have a comedy magician?
Right.
I want them coming and saying, we want Danny back because that was
Yeah.
like nothing else we've ever seen.
I see.
And touch wood, that happens.
Uh-huh.
So,
Do you enjoy them? And particularly, I'm very interested to know what you do with the downtime on cruises, because there's a lot of downtime.
there's an awful lot of downtime. So what I do with it, what I used to do with it was I'd be like, I get to travel and see the world. So I'd go out and see these places and I'd have these adventures, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, if you told my little 22-year-old self, depressed, crying on that bridge,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Genuinely thinking to himself, I might just throw myself in there because this is the only chance I'm ever going to get, and it's gone. If you told him, listen, mate, don't worry about it, because in just 7 years' time, you'll be waking up, looking out of the window of your 6-star cabin, going, oh my God, not Barbados again, rolling over and going back to sleep for half an hour.
Yeah.
Because you were so over it, I would have told you you're being ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, now I'm over it. Now I've pretty much seen everywhere now.
Yeah.
And it's all the same. That's the other weird thing. It's all, there's McDonald's, there's Starbucks. Do you know what I mean? What do you do when you're travelling? I go where the locals go. I don't, off the beaten path, I follow the locals. And where do they go? McDonald's, Starbucks. So, TK Maxx. Oh, sorry, TJ Maxx when one is travelling.
Yeah.
So, so now what I do, I use that time, I use that kind of, it's quite inspiring to see like the sunset and everything else. I use that time to write.
All right.
I've started writing. I'm writing a couple of sitcoms. This is to no point or purpose. This is not a brag, because I've got some deals going on, giving it large. Yeah, I'm working on some stuff. Can't discuss it, mate. But I'm just writing now. I'm being much more disciplined about it. I've got 2 sitcoms that I've got to finish. Who knows if they'll ever be seen by human eyes, even. But they're there, and then the other things I write are my Edinburgh shows.
Yeah.
Which do get seen by human eyes.
Uh-huh.
I've been up there now. I've done 2. I'm writing my 3rd at the moment. And they're stand-up shows. So the last one did have a magic trick in it. But they are stand-up shows. And they've been very well received.
Uh-huh.
By my peers.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just keep doing that. So I use that, and that's it. I use that time to try and write, I try and create.
Yep.
And then I try and do my Zen thing.
What about, you must have done this over the years. What about corporates? When you do corporates, I mean...
I've tried, and I still do occasionally, but I'm not your guy.
Really?
I'm not... see, a corporate environment, it's a bit odd. You're thrust upon them.
Yeah.
Even you're, to an extent, you're thrust upon them in a cruise ship, but on a cruise ship, they know they're coming to see a show.
Yeah.
And they've got a vague idea of what it is.
Uh-huh.
They've been told that it's a comedy show, and they know. But in a corporate, you're thrust on them. They've come out for beer and for drink and to celebrate whatever they're celebrating, or to network, or whatever it is they're going to do. And then and here's entertainment for you.
Yeah.
Here's half an hour of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even know you're coming. You know, everything's against you.
Yeah.
And it can be amazing. It can just work for whatever reason. You can go on and go blah, and it's like wonderful. But it's for this type of performer that I am, it's always going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
Whether it goes well or it doesn't work.
No, they won't take that risk.
Well, there are other
Yeah.
performers who have actual definite jokes. Like Jimmy Carr, for example, is the ultimate example of this. And they tend to have a hit rate of about, I'm guessing, 80-20. There's still potential for it not to work, but there's more. You're on more safe ground with a performer like that. So I do them and have done them, but I don't actively pursue them.
Uh-huh.
Which is I'm a fool. I should do because that's where the money is. But you've got to be a certain type of performer. I mean, you've seen these guys yourself. The close-up workers that do the corporate events. They're like machines. They've got a case. They've got the tricks are neat in the case. And they turn up. They're an automatic pilot. They've got a brainwave deck because that always. Do you know what I mean? These weird things you think. Surely there's no one left on Earth that hasn't seen the brainwave deck. But there is. Do you know what I mean? You can still do it, and you're a genius in their eyes. The spongy balls. And they've got a diary, and they're on it, and they've got a database, and they're giving out business cards, and if they do a bad table, it doesn't matter. Boom, on to the next one. And I'm not that guy. I can't do that. I wish I could, because then I'd be wealthier than I am now. But I can't. You know what I mean? I can do.
It's very interesting. You describe close-up magicians like that. I think it's fair.
Not all of them, but the ones
no.
that are making an awful lot of money at it.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair description.
They're on their game.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
I envy them.
Yeah. But I find it interesting. I did ask you this earlier, so I'll ask you again because it wasn't recorded. But like your friends are not magicians, are they? Your friends are comedians.
Most of them are. I've got a few magicians. I keep the magician friends quite.
You're good friends with Ben Earl.
Ben Earl, yeah, pretty much that's it. In fact, you just summed up the one guy. Yeah, Ben is my closest.
So you talk to Ben
friend
every
in magic.
few days or something like that?
Probably about that, yeah.
And you were involved a little bit in his TV series.
Oh, a shade. I mean, only informally.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of, a few of the ideas. There's not an idea. Basically, it's not an idea of mine. But yeah, we tossed some ideas about, and we had, we do when we talk. It is quite heavy. He's an incredible man. He really is.
I was going to ask you that actually. Ben is an incredible magician.
Yeah, I think Ben Earl, I would say, is the best of us.
You really think that?
I genuinely think that. There's things I've seen him do that I don't mean just with his hands, but just with an audience, I've never seen anyone else do.
Yeah.
I think of the current, of what's happening now, he's the best of us. Yeah, and I really think that he should be. I'm sure he will be. I mean, we will do something exceptional and something that will never be forgotten. I don't know if he's done it yet, but I think he will.
Yeah.
Who
are some of your favourite magicians' names? We talked a lot actually about comedy and things like that, not more about your specific sort of likes and dislikes of magic. Like, what are some of your favourite magicians, performers?
Who do I like? Well, magic-wise?
Yeah, absolutely magic, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I love Penn and Teller, but everyone does. It's almost a cliche now, isn't it? Like to say, oh yeah, Penn and Teller, they're the greatest in the world, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they are, I've never met them, but I can imagine going out to Penn Jillette and saying, I think you're so great, and just being another face, the 50th guy that day who's told him how great he is. I love the way that they've crafted this thing where they're not perceived as magicians by the general, but they are and they aren't. Penn can do podcasts and Teller can direct theatre stuff, and Penn's like a commentator on things like political issues and religious issues.
Very smart, yeah.
Brilliant they are. They've done it well. I love Rue Clan.
Yeah.
God, he makes me laugh. Even when I don't understand it, I've watched shows of his where there's been no dubbing and there's been no subtitles, and I've still laughed in all the right places. Do you know what I mean? I think he's brilliant, and I've had lovely times with him. And he's doing I do a little magic thing sometimes, and he's doing the next one of those, which is on the 19th of February.
I was going to ask you this. You do a little show, and I think it started in Windsor, but you're going to a few different places now.
Yeah,
tell
we've
us
done
a
a
bit
few
about
now.
the show that you're.
It's a chat show. It's a magic chat show. So it's a chat show. It's basically like Late Night with David Letterman with magic exclusively. So I host it. I've got a desk. And I've got a chair and everything. I've got all sorts of bits and bobs now. It's growing. It's brilliant. And then
it's a really interesting format. Can you tell us about the format?
Yeah, so basically it's magicians that I ask. Not because they've got to be able to chat to me afterwards. I mean, I don't have an awkward kind of, so how are you then? And then they come out, they do 15 minutes of their best stuff, and they do their best stuff as well. It's quite amazing. I'm very blessed to have very cool mates. They sit with me at my desk and we chat for about 15 minutes about what we've just seen, about magic. We have a laugh. We occasionally they do tricks at the desk if they're so inclined. They don't have to, but it just sort of seems to happen. Yeah, it's quite a nice little riot of a show. It's like I really like the structure of it very much. My friend Dan produces it, which is quite nice. He's a comedy producer. He loves it. I think we're taking it to Edinburgh this year.
Oh wow! Really?
Not for the whole run. We do 3 or 4. I'm up there for the month doing my show, but we're going to try and do because there's great guys up there that you don't get down here. So I was going to do it, up there. And we've had some amazing people. We've had Pete's done it. Pete Furman. Yeah, he's one of my best friends in the world actually. So that he did the first one. Yeah, he's a guy I see an awful lot, and we talk about stuff. Yeah. And he's very switched on, is Pete. He really is. Uh-huh. And, I mean, I don't know if you've seen his Edinburgh shows, haven't you?
I have seen the last 5 Pete Furman Edinburgh shows. I'm a big fan. And we had him on the podcast.
That's 5 hours.
I know. And do you know what's amazing about it? Is it was 5 hours where every minute of it was different. Because Pete does different stuff. He's also been on this podcast. You can look him up. I believe he's episode 18, I think. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Look in the feed.
I'll have to have a look for that because he's fascinating, man, Pete.
And incredible work ethic.
Absolutely, and disciplined, and he's focused, and he's brilliant as well. There's no one doing comedy magic out. I mean, there are some great guys, but I reckon Rune and Pete for me are the ones that I really look at and think,
that's interesting. So that's sort of both comedy magicians, effectively. Yeah. That's what you're really into. Is there sort of
and sleight of hand stuff? Yeah, because I'm fascinated by it. I'm not, I practice it, and I think I'm average at it. I'm not shocking, but I'm fascinated by it. And
who are some of your favourite sort of sleight of hand?
Well, Ben's the best, obviously, and Rune as well. I mean, just to see if you sit down with Rune with just watching him do these coin things that he does, and it's just like trick photography. It's like with Ben, it's like someone's hacked the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like there's no sense of I don't. And David Williamson. Yeah. Oh God, how can I not mention David Williamson? Lordy, he's incredible to me. I could watch him for hours, but I would rather watch David Williamson fiddle with a deck of cards while he's talking to me than watch a magic lecture. Right. Do you know what I mean? He has got the most beautiful hands. I mean, he just does. His hands just make anything look better. Yeah. And he's funny. Oh, he's so funny. We share a gig. We do the. He does Disney as well, and it's quite good fun. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I go on after him, and it's quite interesting playing to an audience that is not very often, but it's happened once or twice where I've had to go on and. Oh, we had a comedy magician, he was on last week. Oh, really? Who was that then? David Williamson? Lower your expectations, audience! Don't be thinking that's going to happen again.
There will be no raccoons here.
Yeah. But he's wonderful. I love him on there as well. He's a legend. It's nice when they talk about him. Yeah. To have people in the real world talking to you about him. Oh, he's my mate. But he's tremendous. He saved my life in a way. He dictated the course my life's taken. I did a magic competition. Opus magazine. Do you remember that?
JJ's magazine.
Yeah. JJ and Chris Power. They had a magazine, which was brilliant, which I loved. It was hip and cool. And when I was hanging out in the magic circle, it was like, I want to hang around with these guys because they're the radicals. Yeah, we're dangerous. What? And they didn't know me. They know me now. They're my mates, but then they didn't know me. I was just this kid who hang around their dealer stand trying to look cool, and I was one of the guys. And they take the mickey out of me. And they did a magic competition on the Isle of Man. They did a magic convention on the Isle of Man. There was a competition, and it was the first thing I ever did. I was so scared. And I went up and I did my little 10 minutes, and it was properly fun. I didn't win anything because I wasn't magically strong. Yeah. But it was the fun of the. I find it very hard to blow my own trumpet, but it was one of those moments of the convention. It was a real no one knew who I was. It was really unexpected. I was really young. The things I was saying and what came out. And it's one of those weird moments. I get these moments of transcendence where my brain, where it's like, and it happens, and thankfully it's happening more and more, and now it's almost continuous, where I just go on and open my mouth and stuff comes out.
Yeah.
And it comes out like fully formed comic, but I don't know when it... At the time, it was like a light. I couldn't capture it. Now I can. But then I didn't know how to make it happen. It either happened or it didn't.
Yeah.
If it didn't, I was screwed. But this particular performance, it did. I came on, and it just... And it came out of me. And they gave me a special prize. They couldn't give me a proper prize because I didn't know magic really, but they gave me like a merit award to say that it was a real big thing. And Williamson was there, and I didn't know him then. I knew who he was, and I was very in awe of him, but I didn't know him like I know him now.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he said, "Do you want to get a coffee?"
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, please. I never spoke to him. Do you want to go get a coffee? Come with me, just me and you. And he took me out and he sat me down and he goes, "What do you want to do?" And at the time I was a kid, I was 19, so I said, I want to be a professional close-up magician like you. And he went, "You're bigger than that." I was like, oh. Can you imagine someone like that taking the time and he just said, "You're bigger than that. Don't even think about that. It's comedy for you." And he talked to me for about half an hour. And he said, he told me you've got this thing, he recognised what had happened. Do you know what I mean? That it had been this moment, that it was in me rather than contrivance. It wasn't contrived. I hadn't written an act. I hadn't worked out, this will make them laugh, here's an in-joke. It was in me. It was something in me trying to get out. He'd seen it.
Well, to be honest, that's the same as him, isn't it?
Yeah, he'd seen it, and he wanted to let me know that I wasn't going mad, that I wasn't to trust it, and not to think, oh, this is just a thing that happens, and and to try and trust that thing that's trying to get out. And if you trust it and let it out, and you'll die, because this is it. When you're doing that, you've got to learn where boundaries are, and how far you can go, and when to pull back, and that takes time. But to basically trust it, and then it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've not talked about that in ages. But yeah, that's what he did. That's what he did for me. And now I chat to him when he's over and stuff. And
yeah,
wonderful man he is.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, how do you feel about magicians who are successful on TV, like Dynamo and Ben Hanlon and those guys? Because you had a taste of it, didn't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, very brief one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So when you see, and I know you're a comedian, but when you see the type of, the fact that Dynamo right now is booking and selling out arenas.
Yeah.
And there's guys who just went for TV. That's what they did.
Yeah,
Dynamo wanted to be on TV
because it became a thing. When I was doing it, it wasn't like it is. You didn't go for TV.
So here's my question. Do you wish you'd done it a bit different and gone for TV more?
There's a lot of things I wish. I wish I'd dropped magic sooner.
Right.
I really wish I'd dropped magic sooner. I wish I'd trusted myself more. I wish I hadn't listened to the people that I listened to in some ways.
Oh wow, really?
Not David, but I mean there were some people. I got some advice and it wasn't. I was foolish to listen, but that's
Can you
it.
tell
That's
us what
life.
sort of advice it was that you were given?
No, it was just
basically. You don't need to name names, but what advice were you given that was bad?
People you'd go down to like the magic circle and you try something and then somebody would say to you, "Oh, now Slidini would never do that. He was a gentleman." What Slidini would do? Well, Slidini wasn't playing the shitholes I'm playing for a start, But he was sat behind his table in his magic studio. He went to see him. It wasn't like he was, having to go and do the Jongleurs Late Show. But you get this advice, and everyone's you've got to listen to him. He's the wise man. They're not. They're not necessarily. They're not. Do you know what I mean? They're wise in the magic club, but there's a bigger world.
Yeah.
And but I thought I want to be one of those guys that everyone take the sleight of hand guys. I wanted to be, and I wish I hadn't. I did eventually just cut magic off completely, and I wish I'd done that sooner. I wish I'd listened to myself. This is the thing. This is what I'd say to anybody: is trust yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, listen to people that you admire and take what they give you, but ultimately trust yourself. You're right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you've got an idea to do something and it's a bit against the grain, do it. Don't listen to... Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be told that you've got to do it a certain way. You've got to wear a bow tie. Do you know what I mean? And that's... Cliché's pretty much gone, but there are modern versions of it.
Yeah.
The audience likes to be fooled by a gentleman. What are you, a gentleman? What are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? What does that even mean? So I've got to pretend that I'm an aristocrat?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got to walk around like Lord Arsehole and wear a... You know what I mean? No. They want to be fooled by a human being.
Yeah.
They don't really want to be fooled.
Yeah.
Is the truth. They want an experience, but they don't want to be tricked. They want to be, in the presence of a real human being who's communicating something. They want to,
And do you think that's why Dynamo's been so successful? He is just himself, isn't he?
Well,
And he just presents magic. Is that?
I don't understand. There's a machine behind that. I mean, David Blaine, I think, certainly. You know, I mean, a lot of people sort of saw that first special and went, he's only doing the double lift, didn't he? But no, he knew what he was doing. That was a definite, that persona and that choice of material, do you know what I mean? And I mean, he was obviously way ahead of the curve. And whereas when I look at Dynamo, I sort of just see a tribute act. Really. I mean, I don't know if he's... Again, I admire Stephen Frayne. I admire his work ethic. That man had knockbacks, do you know what I mean? And he kept coming, and he kept coming, and he kept coming. The fact that the show is not to my personal taste is by the by. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's not made it for me. He's made it for the audience that loves it. And they do love it. And he is beloved. You know, and he deserves... Yeah, he's worked hard, and he deserves it. You know what I mean? It's just not to my personal...
Yeah.
But neither are the Spice Girls. And I admire their work ethic. Do you know what I mean? It's like... but I do admire what Blaine did. I think that's quite an achievement.
What do you think of like bigger magic? Like, you know, have you ever done Vegas? Have you ever been to Vegas?
No, I've got friends that do. My friend Kyle Knight's got a show in Vegas. He's he's an illusionist.
Big shot illusionists on
Kyle
the
Knight and
ships as
Misty,
well, aren't they? Yeah.
and they're amazing. Yeah, we did a summer on Disney together. They are the funniest couple. I love them. I really do miss them. Actually, they were just.
Is it true he changed his name because there was a porn star that had the same name?
You might think that. I couldn't possibly comment. But he's a cool guy. He's switched on and he's funny and she's funny. She's hilarious, actually. Yeah, I miss those two. But I watched his illusion show on Disney. He's the first illusionist I've ever seen. He sort of talks through his illusions. He actually performs them.
Right.
Rather than just doing the music and the dancing and the pointing at the box and then it happens. He actually talks through it. He's like, right, this box you can clearly see all around. He's actually talking while he's explaining why, and he really points up.
Yeah.
He actually performs illusion. It's quite interesting to see that, actually.
Yeah.
And she's a big part. I mean, they're like a partners. It's not like a magician assistant. They're obviously very clearly it's them as a couple doing it. And yeah, I watched his show and I was genuinely amazed. And he's got I won't spoil it for the listeners, but he's got an ending to that show that genuinely I did not see coming, and it was like. That's one of the smartest things I've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? It was a real clever moment that I won't spoil just in case you get the chance to see him.
Yeah.
Which you will if you go on a Disney cruise. I think he's doing it. He's on there again this summer.
You can't lose, ladies and gentlemen. You book a Disney cruise, you'll either see Kyle Knight and Misty, Danny Buckler or David Williamson.
I know which one I choose.
That's your holiday.
Spin the wheel, take your chance.
Danny, I can't believe how the time has flown here. But I just want
we done?
Yeah, I'm afraid we are. So, but thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It's really been great.
Absolute pleasure.
I first saw you at the session last year, and I don't think I'd ever laughed so much at a magic convention than when you came on, did your spot. So, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely. Thank you.
That was Mr. Danny Buckler. Huge thanks, Danny, for your time. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you ever get a chance to see Danny perform, don't miss it. Every single show that Danny does is different. He's a really funny guy, one of my favourite comedy magicians in the world. Thanks very much for tuning in. See you again next week for another new episode. Take care. Bye-bye.